Welcome to this week's session of the 12 steps to aligning yourself to building wealth like the rich. And in today's session, we are going to be talking about your values. What do you really class as valuable? Because what you class as valuable will determine what happens to your financial future and your financial destiny and where your money will flow and go. So, in terms of our pyramid of the 12 things to aligning yourself, this is the third thing, because we spoke about having a defined spiritual and life mission, and as Napoleon Hill called it in his book, The Laws of Success, your chief aim in life. And if you have a chief aim in life, which tends to be a representation of your highest value, you are more successful, you are more fulfilled, you are more congruent, you are more of a leader, more of an inspiration to yourself, to your family, to your community, to the city, to your nation, to the world. By having that, it gives you a bigger reason for building wealth. Then we spoke in last session, and there was a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people loved doing that mental exercise that we did. And before we did the session, we spoke about your identity and how your identity will determine what you get more of. Because you don't get what you want, you get more of who you are. It is be, do, have. You will only do consistently in your life who you perceive to be. And what you consistently do, you'll keep and retain. However, what most people are tending to do and trying to do is, I want to have this money, so I'm going to do this thing, so I'll become this person. But you won't do the thing consistently. That is not who you believe you are. You will not get me or ever find me consistently washing dishes, because I don't class myself as a scrubber or a washer-upper, okay? Because I hate those things. I have no value on it. And ironically, that is what we're going to be talking about in today's session. Not scrubbing dishes, but we're going to be talking about your values. What are your top 5 values? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 values, in fact. But generally, your top 5 values. And the reason why I say 5 is because if making money, saving money, growing wealth, and all those things like that nature, wealth building is not in your top 5 values, it has been shown statistically that the probabilities of you building wealth, holding on to wealth, are close to 0. 1%. Where if you have it in those top 5 values, you have a 99% chance of doing so. So what are your values? Your values are this, your personal compass. It's the compass in your mind which determines which direction you are unconsciously guided in life and determines where you will experience success. I'll say that again. I'll say it in reverse order. You are successful in life based on the thing that you perceive as the most important to you. And what you perceive as most important to you isn't a conscious thing, it is an unconscious thing. Predetermined by what you perceive in your unconscious mind, what is going to help you to be able to survive and be protected. And what do you want to survive and protect? Your genes, your DNA. Ooh, this is deep. Right? So, your DNA, there's a great book called The Selfish Gene, is doing everything possible to guide you to survive, protect, and continue its existence. And it has said to you, this is important and this isn't. And that list, which is what you actually perceive to be your values, which is what is the most valuable things in the world to you. And that is going to determine whether you're financially successful or not. And the irony of it is, the amount of times I've actually heard Donald Trump say, it's DNA, it's about your DNA whether you're going to be financially successful. It's your genes, it's your DNA. And in many ways, he's right. He's right. I don't mean, oh, you're born with it. It is your values are something which you learn. And then your genes, your unconscious mind then thinks, right, protect my survival and protection. It links these two things in your mind and says, we need to do this. We need to focus on this in order for our genes to continue. Which is why so many people in the world have children. Because they want their genes to continue. Because it is one of the most surest ways for your DNA to continue, which is why most people have a value on a relationship. Now, so I'm going to ask you a question, everybody, and I want you to think about this carefully. Answer this question. If I gave you 20,000 today, right now, I wrote you a check for 20,000, list the top 10 things you would spend it on. What would you spend? What would you spend that 20,000 on? Be honest, right? What would you spend that money on? Here's what I'm going to say to you. Do you want to know something? Here is what 99% of the world want the money for. And here is what 99% of the world are trading or trying to do some investing for. And because this is what is going on in their unconscious mind on the right hand side of their mind. Do you know what they want? Lifestyle, travel, nice house, education for themselves and the children, clothes, jewelry, shopping, family, nice family thing. Get rid of the bills and the debts. That's what they want the money for. I have a friend who said to me, but what else do you need it for? Okay? So what else do you need the money for? And I said, that's interesting that you say that. And he says, well, there's no point of just having that. He says, of course I want it for that. I want the money for that. But let me tell you something right now. Here is what 1% of the world want the money for. Investments. They want to buy property. They want to buy stocks and shares. They want to buy commodities. They want to buy businesses. That's what they want the money for. Think of it this way. Imagine there's someone called a stamp collector. Everyone knows what a stamp collector is, right? And you give them a stamp. And the stamp is worth $1 million. They will value the stamp regardless of its value. Because this is a priceless stamp. And they will love the stamp. And as long as that stamp, they've got that stamp, they'll keep it in the stamp form. That's 1% of people. 99% of the world will liquidate the stamp and turn it into cash. And do you know where that cash would go? On travel, on house, on education, on jewelry, on shopping, on family, on paying the debts down. That's where it would go for 99%. So as a result of this, when you give them money, anytime they have money, they spend it because it is going to the thing what they perceive to be really, truly most important to them. So the whole motive, the whole drive for trying to build wealth is for lifestyle. And that is not how rich people think. What? Well, I know, I see these programs with all these rich people and they seem to have these big houses and these cars and jewels and things. That is not the drive. That is not the reason. But that is the reason of the 99%. That is what is embedded in 99% of the world's mind. Because if that, listen, that is how most people in the world think, and most people don't have money. Because you're thinking like most people in the world. Only 1% of the world has a mindset where they're driven to buy assets. They love the game. Think of it this way. When I interviewed Jack Schwager, and I was talking about the psychology of wealth, and I said something to him, and Jack Schwager said to me, that is absolutely true. He said, most, if not all those traders and investors, the best in the world, have all said they would do it for free. They just loved the game. Think of it like Monopoly. A lot of people have been brought up playing Monopoly and they just love the game Monopoly. Let's imagine you love Monopoly, the game, and you thought, well, this is a brilliant game, and you absolutely loved it. All right? You had a true love of it and you just wanted to play it all the time because you loved the game. And let's imagine you could get paid for it. People were like going, gee, this is amazing. Let's imagine you had more, you've got paid for it and you had this money to buy even more houses on this bigger board game. You would just use the money and buy more properties on the board. The benefit is you'd have a vast number of wealth and you'd have this passive income, so you could buy a nice house, a nice car and all those things like this. But that's not your drive. Your drive is to play the game because you love the game. Now, the game of investing, only 1% of the world actually loves the game of investing. So they get more money to keep playing the game investing. But most people are trying to play the game investing, not to play the game investing, but they're playing it to have money to spend. So here is the truth. And I wrote this on my blog, if you remember the blog. I wrote this on the Facebook page. It says, poor and middle class people think rich people spend money to feel wealthy. And so when they see a person with money not spend it, they think they're tight. Rich people think rich people earn more money to feel wealthy. So when they see poor or middle class people spending money, they think they're foolish with money. What do poor and middle class people do as soon as they get a load of money? They spend it so that they feel wealthy. What do rich people do as soon as they get money? They invest it to create an income so they feel more wealthy. That is based on your values. Whatever you truly value will determine what you want that money for. You will spend money. Money is the most liquid form of your values. You convert something of value into cash. And I want you to understand the cash has zero value, realistically. It is something you have faith in. It is not the value. The cash isn't the thing of value. People think it's the cash. It is not. You turn your work efforts, you turn an asset, you turn the cow, you turn the gold, you turn something else into cash, which has just a liquid form so that you can divide and division something else that you want to buy in smaller units or greater units and turn it from value into cash, cash back into something else that you value. You may value your teeth being fixed. You may value your body. You may value your health. Some people value Monopoly. Some people value clothes. Some people value shopping. Some people value assets. But understand, only 1% of the world value the assets like the stamp collector. So, you have to either change your goals so that they are aligned with what you truly value, because you won't, people are experiencing, they go, I'm not successful at this, I'm not successful at this. But it's because you don't really have a value on it. I don't know how much money you've been paid throughout your life, but I'll tell you this right now. I spoke to my ex-girlfriend yesterday, and she was telling me about her father, and he's got these houses all over the world. And I said, they paid them off. He said, oh, he paid them off ages ago, Patrick. And he's got all this money, and he's so tight. And I said, what do you mean he's tight? Oh, he's so tight with his money. He knows where every single penny is. He knows every single penny. He knows what's in every single asset. He's got all this cash flow. And I said, what did he start doing with his money from when he was younger? I knew he must have. And she said, oh, what he did, he was brought up by his uncle. And his uncle said to him at the age of 7, whatever you do, no matter how much money you earn, you must always save a minimum of 10% and buy assets. So since the age of 7 years old, he's been saving 10% of his money and been buying assets. And he said to his daughter, that's what you need to do. And she said, oh, I can't get myself to do it. I just keep seeming to be spending the money and living on credit cards and stuff like this. I said, what do you spend the money on? Going out, socializing, clubbing, etc., clothes, drinking with my friends. That's what's of value to her. He had a value on assets from a young age. She has a value on lifestyle. The person that has a value on the assets becomes rich in assets. The person that has a value on socializing becomes rich in socializing. They're both of value, but in terms of cash, traditional assets, the person that has the value on buying assets. Now, you can turn socializing into money if you have a value on business, but that's a whole different subject further down on the triangle that we'll be talking about. How do you turn what you value into cash flow? So, I ask you this, where are you currently successful in your life right now? Because wherever you are successful is where you value something right now. It is where you're pouring the money you get. Now think about it this way. How have you been consistently saving a percentage of your income? And for how long? Are you forcing yourself to do this because you've heard me say that's what you're supposed to do? Is this something you're driven to do? Is this something you're inspired to do? You can't, as soon as you get money, you go, oh my God, I can't wait. I get to save this. And you have visions of money piling up in your mind because that's the outcome. Not the shopping, not the lifestyle. That's the outcome. Like the stamp collector, like the 1%. Have you created a business to be in charge of your income? How many assets do you have? And which asset classes do you own? And are you consistently buying assets? If not, it's not of value to you. Have you seen your net worth growing through saving and investments in assets? If you had a guaranteed 1 million income for life, for your whole life, and for your children's life, and their children, what would you really do with your time? Do you know what 1% of the world would do with their time if you gave them that money? They'd invest it, because that's the most exciting thing to them in the world. And what would 99% of the world do with it? They would spend it on their lifestyle because there's more coming in. You either have a value on this or this. Unfortunately, 99% of the world value this, and only 1% of the world value this. So you either change your values to change your financial destiny. And look at where your money's been going now. There's people go, but I'm in debt. Well, whatever you're in debt for is you've spent the money on what you truly value. If you're telling me you're in debt because you spent it on gold, silver, commodities, properties, investments, that's a different thing. If you're in debt because you spent it on your lifestyle, that's a completely different thing. Some people go, but I spent it on my education. That's because you have a value on education. Value in education is not the same as value as building wealth. But I spent it on education to learn about building wealth. That's because you have a value on education greater than you do of building wealth. Otherwise, you would have bought assets with the money that you're in debt for. You will always find money for the things that you truly value. But I had to learn about it. Well, let me ask you this. Someone say to me, I'm 5,000 in debt for learning, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. And they borrowed it to learn. Would you take the same sum of money and go and buy assets now? If not, it tells you something. You would have took the money to go and learn because you have a higher value on learning than you do on buying assets. So, you need to ask yourself these questions. What do you truly value? And the secret is to building wealth. Your focus is going to be represented by what you truly value. Look at what you have. Look at what you own. Look at where your money has been going for the last 5 years, 10 years. That will tell you what you truly value. In the free course that is coming out soon, and a whole series of questions about this to tell you what your values are, how to change your values, and everything that you need to do to make a neurological, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual shift so that it changes your whole focus. And then you need to learn how to change the beliefs. And as I said, and I'll say it again, your values determine what you focus on, where you spend your money, where you spend your attention, and your beliefs will tell you where you achieve it. And that's the end of today's session. So thank you very much.